Hump Day Wednesday. Appreciate everybody joining us on all the social media platforms, YouTube, TikTok, X, and of course the Occupy Democrats Network, the FM AM dial as well. We ask that you subscribe on that Occupy Democrats Network page on Facebook. It's only $5 a month, and you're supporting what we do here on the show. Man, do we have a jam-packed show for you today. What a busy news day. Breaking news that just came out that apparently there's a national security threat, and it involves Russia and possibly their military capabilities. Former presidential candidate Joe Walsh, former congressman, of course, out of Chicago, will be joining us here in a couple minutes to get his reaction to that. George Santos' seat has been replaced by a Democrat out of New York. We're going to be talking a lot about that. And, of course, there's conspiracy theories about this Russia military capability, national security threat. From the right, conspiracy theories that, this happens, the timing of it during this $61 billion Ukraine package. And then there are some conspiracy theories on the left, some people saying that Tucker Carlson's visit to interview Vladimir Putin, maybe that wasn't much of an interview, maybe there's something to that. Again, conspiracy theories on both sides, but anytime you hear national security threat during a White House press briefing, and that means it's serious. So we will certainly talk about that, and we will get your thoughts on that. All this going down, of course, the impeachment of Mr. Mayorkas. Now, it is interesting to me, because I want to get to this as well. These MAGA House Republicans, they don't want to pass a bill for border security, clearly. They don't want to pass any bill that helps Americans, as far as I'm concerned. They're noisemakers, not lawmakers. They don't want to pass a bill to assist our allies. A lot of these House Republicans on average make a little bit under $200,000 per year, and they do absolutely nothing but complain. And they have no solutions to any of the problems facing the American people. So I say to you, the American people in this country, stop electing MAGA House Republicans. They're not getting anything done. Make no mistake about this as well. This is a massive loss for Donald Trump and these MAGA Republicans. This Democrat defeating Republican Mazi Pilip in the special election to replace George Santos, this is another loss for Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans. Make no mistake about it. And, the bottom line here, while all this stuff is going on, we have this national security threat. I've been telling you guys every day, over and over and over again, and I know the majority of my listeners are very intelligent people, and you all understand the serious threat that Vladimir Putin is not only to this country, but to the world. You all know that. Ukraine must win this war. There's no but or if in that. Ukraine has to win this war. It is not just important for those people in Ukraine. It's important for the world. It's important for the United States of America. Vladimir Putin is an evil, murderous dictator. So to talk about all these topics, I said to myself, there's probably no better person to speak with than my friend and somebody who always is very gracious with his time. You know him as a former presidential candidate, of course, former congressman out of Chicago, to talk about all this breaking news. And boy, there's a lot of it. It's always a pleasure to have Joe Walsh joining us on the program. Well, I appreciate the time, sir, as always. How you doing?
Brian, my brother, good to be with you.
Good to see you, Joe. Let's get right to it. I wanted to pick your brain on this, the breaking news that Russia, apparently a national security threat, and it's very serious. White House press briefing, they spoke a little bit about it. Apparently it has something to do with their military capabilities. What are your thoughts on this?
I don't know. None of us know. I know Mike Turner, who I served with in Congress, who put the statement out. Mike Turner is not at all a dramatic guy. He's a responsible Republican, especially when it comes to issues of national security. So for him to put out a statement like that makes me think there's something serious here, but it's just odd how this is getting put out.
Let's talk about that. There are conspiracy theories on both sides. From the Republican side, they're saying, interesting, the timing of this during the $61 billion package to help aid Ukraine. And then there's conspiracy theories on the left Tucker Carlson just visited Russia and interviewed Vladimir Putin. Does that have anything to do with this? What do you make of these conspiracy theories? Seems to be on both sides of the aisle.
If I had to lean in one direction, Brian, it would be this. Again, knowing Mike Turner, Congressman Turner from Ohio, he's a huge advocate for getting aid to Ukraine. He's one of the good guy Republicans who has been adamant about this. He was just over in Ukraine the past week with a bipartisan group of members. So I can't imagine he'd play politics, though, with that position of his. Mm-hmm. But that's all I can think of, is that this has something to do with getting aid to Ukraine and maybe pressuring Speaker Johnson's hand to do the right damn thing and put this bill up for a vote.
Speaking of doing the right thing or not doing the right thing, I wanted to get your thoughts on the impeachment of Mayorkas. And while all this is going on, these House MAGA Republicans refuse to pass this bill that would actually help, at least help some of the issues taking place at the border. What do you make of this impeachment? And what do you make of the politics that these MAGA Republicans continue to play at the hands, or I should say the commands, of Donald Trump?
So impeaching Mayorkas is utter bullshit. Oops. Can I say that, Brian?
You're okay.
Okay. It's utter BS. But it's worse than that, man. This is so dangerous. You're impeaching a cabinet official because you have a policy disagreement with him. Make no mistake, you said it. This is being driven by Trump. Republicans need a scalp. They wanted to impeach Biden. There's clearly nothing there, so they look like idiots. So they gotta feed their base something. So here's their scalp. Republicans in the Senate have already said it's dead on arrival. Purely politics, because my friend Donald Trump is the Speaker of the House. Mike Johnson is not.
Speaking of Mike Johnson, now you have Matt Gaetz, who made some interesting comments yesterday, saying that he kind of misses Kevin McCarthy. What do you make of this guy making these comments now? And you kind of reap what you sow with Mike Johnson now. What do you make of that?
Well, Gaetz is the supreme troller. There's really nobody better than that. And he's also the supreme seeker of attention. Mm-hmm. Look, and I said this at the time, maybe on your show, I know I said it on TV. When they decided to remove McCarthy back last fall, at that moment, Republicans lost control of the House, meaning they're going to lose in November and they'll be out of the majority in January. Because that entire exercise of getting rid of McCarthy just showed voters how dysfunctional they are. And fast forward 3 or 4 months, everything they're doing now, Brian, just adds to how incompetent and how dysfunctional these House Republicans are. They're showing the American voter every single freaking day that they have no business being in control of the House.
Amen. And, let's talk a little. You spoke about this on social media. George Santos' seat replaced by a Democrat. This seems to be a pretty big loss for Donald Trump and these MAGA Republicans. Is it fair to say that more people in this country are getting tired of the MAGA Republicans and the extremists like the George Santoses of the world? And is this truly a big win for Democrats?
So you'll disagree with me on this one. I don't think this is a big national win for Democrats at all. I do believe Democrats will win in November. I don't think this race portends any of that. My God, Bri, this race never should have been close to begin with. George Santos, I mean, the Republicans should have been dead just because of that. The Republican candidate in this race was really, really weak. The Democratic candidate in this race was off the charts strong. I mean, basically, he's been in this district, an elected official, his whole life. The Democratic candidate, Brian, was smart, never mentioned Biden's name, and was tough on immigration.
Right.
So this shouldn't have been close, and it wasn't close. Democrats are still going to have to work hard in November to win this thing.
Oh, but believe it or not, Joe, I actually do agree with you on that. I don't think it's as big of a deal as maybe some Democrats are making it out to be. So we actually agree on this. Let's talk about something else that we agree on, and that's Nikki Haley. You put this on social media where Nikki Haley said yesterday in an interview, and she said on a stage and basically referring to the fact of Donald Trump's disgusting comments about her husband, who's deployed overseas. And I spoke about that yesterday. And basically, Nikki Haley says Trump's not fit for office. And then you rightfully point out, if she endorses Donald Trump, which you and I believe she probably will, she's certainly not going to endorse Joe Biden. If she endorses Donald Trump, how could anybody take anything she says seriously, right?
Can't. This is what's interesting, Brian. This is not the first time Nikki Haley has now said Trump is unfit. Having gone down that road 4 or 5 years ago, like I did, the minute you go out on that plank as a Republican and you repeat it, you're out there and you are done as a Republican. So in a weird way, Brian, I've always assumed that Nikki Haley is going to get out of the race and be the good Republican and embrace and endorse Trump.
Mm-hmm.
But now she's said this a few times,
right?
And it would be really embarrassing now if she did. She sounds like Chris Christie, who will never endorse Trump.
Right. Right. And Christie will never endorse Trump ever again. As far as Nikki Haley, I don't trust her. I think she's going to join the list of names like the Ted Cruzes of the world, the Lindsey Grahams of the world, who said he was unfit for office back in 2015, 2016. Every word that comes out of his mouth is a lie. And now they've been brown nosing him over the course of the last 6 or 7 years. All right. Another topic. I hate to agree with you on just about everything, but a lot of Democrats are probably going to disagree with me on this. But we know this story of these young teenagers and those in their early 20s that attacked these police officers in New York City, those that were in this country illegally. And now we have one of those teens that was arrested again. And you pointed out, calling this guy a punk. I would actually even use worse terms than that. He should be deported out of the country immediately. It's one thing if you're in this country illegally, but it's another thing if you're committing serious crimes while in the country illegally. How is it possible that we live in a country where you come in here illegally, you attack police officers, assault cops? If that was you or me, we'd be in jail right now, and they're out. It makes no sense to me, and I agree with you. They should be deported.
So, Brian, I agree with every word you just said. But you know what, Brian? You just sounded like Sean Hannity, or I'm making a point, or Laura Ingraham, or anybody in my former world of right-wing radio, or any of my former Republican colleagues, because they're all saying what you and I are saying, which is you come here seeking asylum, great. You commit a crime, you're gone. Mm-hmm. Now, here's the problem, Brian. Why won't any elected Democrat say that? I want that to happen. Joe Biden should say that. Left-wing Democratic talking heads should say that. And if they don't, this is why Democrats are going to be hammered rightly by this immigration issue.
I think we can do both, right, Joe? Those that are seeking asylum, most of these people, I think we could agree, are decent, good people. They want a better life for themselves.
And by the way, Brian, that's a legal process, seeking asylum. Yeah.
Correct. Most of these people are not bad people. They're good people. I don't like that rhetoric. But when we find these bad people, like people that assault police officers, I'm sorry, it's not racist for me to say, get the hell out of this country. If you're already here illegally and you're committing serious crimes, we don't want you here. I think that's a very fair position.
It's the right position. And Brian, as a former congressman, I'm probably wrong in what I'm about to say. Screw due process. Like you're gone. We pick you up and we throw you out of the country. I know there are people on the left who I've heard say, well, he deserves due process. He's not a citizen of this country. I know legally I'm probably wrong, but that's how I feel about it. That's how most Americans feel about it.
Joe, do you think this bill should have been passed? I would imagine you know a lot that was in the bill. A lot of it has already been released. Do you think that these MAGA Republicans made a big mistake and this bill should have been passed?
You're talking about the immigration bill?
Yes.
You and I would disagree on this. If I were still in Congress, I would not have supported it. There's too much bad in the bill. I'll just give you one. It basically sets the bar at 4,000 to 5,000 people can come in here every day and claim asylum or come in illegally or whatever. But once you go above that, then all hell breaks loose. To me, that's a horrible number precedent to set. Nobody should come into this country illegally. And by the way, Brian, I'll remind you of this. I know you know this. seeking asylum is a legal process, but we have ports of entry to which you're supposed to go to seek asylum. We're talking about people who just flood across the river seeking asylum. We can shut that down tomorrow. And this bill would have still allowed that to happen. But so I would not have supported the bill. But Brian, I agree. Republicans aren't supporting it because Donald Trump told them not to.
And you did have some MAGA Republicans like Langford, who I would consider a MAGA Republican, who helped put this bill together. I mean, Democrats and Republicans sat there. They put this bill together. I agree with you. It's not perfect. There are issues that you can point out. But I guess where we disagree is I feel like it's better to start here, have a starting point with some things that will address the border that are not perfect. Don't you need to start somewhere than do nothing?
So here's my fear as a former congressman, because I saw this happen a lot. You pass a bill that's got some good and some bad in it to address a real problem, and then, phew, you're done. You walk away from the problem for the next 20 to 30 years. I've seen too many members then take a pass and walk away. And I'm afraid that this would have happened now. Brian, I'll tell you what, though, because it didn't go anywhere, because Republicans shut it down for political reasons, Joe Biden, man, should be doing all he can vis-a-vis his legal executive authority to be tough at the border. It would help him politically.
Don't disagree with that. Last question for you. And my last question is usually always about Donald Trump with you. When you have a former president saying the things he said about Nikki Haley's husband, constantly attacking our military, how is it possible, Joe, as much as Republicans, many of them don't like Joe Biden's policies and can't stand Democrats, how is it possible for a former service member, or really any American for that matter, to still support this man? I just, my head explodes, Joe. I just don't understand.
So for most Republicans, Brian, he's a cult leader, and it's past the point. So the members of the cult, he can do no wrong. Trump will get most of the military vote again this election. And I think a lot of people, sadly, don't take him seriously when he says this stuff. I've had conversations with military members who just roll their eyes and say, that's just Trump being Trump. He doesn't believe it. He's just cracking a joke or doing whatever. They don't take him seriously, and it's wrong.
Yeah. Since it is Valentine's Day, I will ask you one more. Do you think it's possible that Melania Trump hates Donald Trump than both of us do combined?
I have no doubt that that's a weird relationship. I make a rule never to talk on relationships because I've had my issues. But I'll tell you what, Bri, you and I know there's some weird stuff going on in that household.
There definitely is. Joe, I love you, buddy. I always appreciate it when you take the time. You're always so generous. Love your podcast, White Flag with Joe Walsh. Everybody check it out. Joe, you are the best. We need more people like you out there, and I appreciate your time, my friend.
Ryan Shapiro, you rock, buddy. Thank you.
Joe. You are the best. You rock as well. We'd make a good rock and roll team. Always love Joe Walsh. Always generous with his time, and I appreciate him taking time to join us. I wish he was still in Congress. I wish he was running for president, because I love that guy. And while we don't agree on everything, he's honest. He's honest. He doesn't answer to anybody, and I love his commentary. And always appreciate it when he comes and joins the show. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. Boy, there's a lot to get to. I want your reaction. I want to get your phone calls. We have a special guest coming in studio who is has been very active within the Democrat Party. She's going to be joining us in studio next. We're going to hear from her on all these issues. And I want to open up the phone lines for you. What do you make of this national security threat that involves Russia, could involve their military capabilities? How serious should we take this as Americans? What do you make of Mayorkas being impeached? Another clown show, in my opinion, from the Republican Party. And what do you make of this win in New York for Democrats? George Santos' seat replaced by a Democrat. A lot of stuff to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. We spoke about it with Joe Walsh. Now I want to speak about it with you. I'm opening up the phone line, 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you want to be a part of the program, 702-221-7283. We'll take a quick break. We'll tackle all those issues and hear from you next. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP. Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
I'm Eva Chase, a candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, former Lieutenant Governor candidate, Progressive Independent Democrat.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Wednesday. Thank you all for joining us on the World Wide Web, the Occupy Democrats Network, the FM AM dial. We are following some breaking news. There was a shooting, 2 people in custody at the Kansas City Chiefs parade. It just, and again, I don't have much more information to share with you as of yet, but it's just crazy, ladies and gentlemen. Craziness. You can't even go to a parade and enjoy your team winning a championship without something tragic happening. We're covering, of course, all the breaking news, including Russia's national security threat, apparently military capabilities The White House not really releasing more information than that. So, and we're learning at least 10 people were shot at this Kansas City Chiefs parade. Again, when we get more information for you, we'll share it with you. George Santos' seat replaced by a Democrat, and Mayorkas was impeached by MAGA deplorable House Republicans. So we're covering all this news, and to talk a little bit about this, of course, is my friend Ileana Dropkin, who has been very active within the Democrat Party, and I always like to get her perspective on here. We get perspectives from all sorts of different people. We just had Joe Walsh on, former presidential candidate, lifelong Republican, anti-Trump like myself, and I know Ileana is anti-Trump as well. Ileana, it's good to see you. How are you doing today?
I'm wonderful. I want to say happy Valentine's Day to you in the studio and to everybody out there. It's a day that should be for love, all kinds of love. So
I'm taking a lovely lady out to see a friend of mine who's in a Bee Gees cover band. Yes, very
good for you.
Very romantic. What do you think, Donald Trump and Melania? You think they'll even be seeing each other today?
I'm sure they're in very separate places and very separate, possibly separate states.
I saw a funny meme, and it's like, what would Melania Trump's best gift be for Valentine's Day? I think if Donald Trump just paid her off and she never had to see him again. I think she hates him more than I do. I really do.
I'm sure it's a very contractual. It looks very contractual and you never know what's going on in someone's bedroom, but from kind of looking in, it's a very contractual relationship. She clearly doesn't.
Can I ask you a very inappropriate question?
Sure, I love inappropriate questions.
If Donald Trump asked you out on a date and he said he would pay you 7 figures, would you do it?
No, absolutely not.
See,
He's repulsive.
You have decency. You see, I like that. I
like
that about
absolutely
you.
repulsive.
A lot of women,
I can't even listen to his voice.
Well, you know what? I would go on a date with him for $1 million. I'm a terrible person. I would whore myself out, for lack of a better term.
Well, I guess it depends what you define as date and
That's
what
true.
constitutes in that date.
That's very, very true.
If it's
it
just
would be in
dinner,
public, just public. Just
okay.
public. No, nothing private.
Okay, well then I might be in on that.
If it was something private, it would have to be a lot more money for me. But anyway, I appreciate you being here. So I want to play you a clip from Nikki Haley.
Okay.
Because Nikki Haley the other day was holding one of her rallies with like 50 people. And in the rally, she said what I would agree with, which is basically the comments that Donald Trump made about her husband, despicable.
Absolutely.
And I don't know why she's saying that now, because Donald Trump has a history of saying awful things
from
about
the beginning.
Yeah, suckers and losers, the comments he made about John McCain. But now it's personal to her because he attacked her husband for being overseas, being deployed. So she made the comments that he's unfit for office. Now, why would it take her this long to say it? I don't know. But anyway, she was pressed on it in an interview yesterday, and here's what she said.
You didn't misspeak yesterday when you said that he's no longer qualified to be president. You stand by that.
If you are going to hit our military, you are not qualified to be president, period. Because anybody that will mock our military, anybody that will go and put them in harm's way by saying you're going to side with Russia, you are not protecting our men and women in the military.
Okay, so I agree, but we all know what's going to happen here, and I will be shocked, Ileana, if I'm wrong. She is going to endorse Donald Trump.
Oh, of course,
now, if she said, I can't endorse Joe Biden, so I'm not going to endorse either candidate, at least I would have some respect for her. She is going to endorse Donald Trump, and when she does, it's only a matter of time, she can never be taken seriously ever again. Do you agree with that?
I don't think any of them can be taken seriously. You can't listen. Donald Trump is a cult, right? So I actually feel sorry for the Nikki Haleys, for the normal-ish Republicans who aren't a part of the cult, because they're stuck. Because it's a wide enough swath of the Republican Party who are in this cult, and they can't get anywhere, and so they find themselves conceding to this cult, right? So I don't take any of them seriously. Like, they all find him repulsive in private, but in public, they all seem to kowtow, because it's easier to kowtow than it is to stand up against him, where there's constant threats, where they're the butt of the jokes, because he carries so much take on the air. So I actually feel sorry for the Nikki Haleys. I don't take any of them. I don't take any of them seriously. I really don't.
I don't feel sorry for. You're a nicer person than I. I don't feel sorry for anybody that doesn't have a moral compass. And let me be very clear. When you make the statements that he's unfit for office, when a person attacks, in Ted Cruz's instance, your wife for being, claiming that she's ugly, when you makes comments about your family, assassinating, John Kennedy, when somebody makes comments about your spouse not being with you when they're deployed overseas fighting for this country, and you endorse somebody like that, it's not that I feel sorry for you. I feel a lot of anger towards you that you are that despicable, that you would do that you have no moral compass. Liz Cheney, Mitt Romney, Adam Kinzinger, there are Republicans out there that have a moral compass, even though I disagree with them a lot. If Nikki Haley ends up endorsing Donald Trump, and I'm 99% sure she will, she is pathetic, and she should never be taken seriously ever again.
Well, let's hope she doesn't, but I don't think she's not really being taken seriously now. I think she probably, I mean, she breaks more with the independents than she does with her own party, right? So she's not being taken seriously now in her own state. Mm-hmm. She's not going to win her home state. She's not even going to come close to her home state. Mm-hmm. So she's not being taken seriously now. That's just where it is. If it's with where the bulk of the country is with the Democrats and independents, she does well. But she is not being taken serious by her own party.
Yeah. I do have some criticism for the left in this aspect. When we see what took place in New York City, speaking of immigration, when we have these undocumented people in this country that are committing heinous crimes, example, attacking police officers.
Right, I totally agree with you.
And then they're released the next day, which is, by the way, an abomination, and they're flipping off cameras. I don't want those people in this country, and that has nothing to do with the color of their skin. It has nothing to do with, what country they're from. It has everything to do with, okay, you came here illegally. You want to stay here. Don't commit any more serious crimes like attacking police officers.
Or any crimes. Like whether it's a police officer, don't commit any crimes, right?
And Democrats need to talk about this.
Yeah,
and they need to step up. And Joe Biden, and I get it. He's not in control of some of the laws in New York City. But they need to say, look, if you come into this country illegally, we're going to work with you. And we're going to find a way where you can get a pathway to citizenship. Okay, we'd like you to come to this country legally, but if you're already here, let's work with you.
Right.
Okay, fair.
Yep.
But when you decide to assault a police officer or commit any serious felony crime,
yeah, I'm with you. They should be out.
You're
immediately.
gone, and you should never be allowed to come back.
Well, they shouldn't have even been allowed to get out of the police station. It should have just been automatic.
Right.
Transport. I agree with you.
But there are some Democrats that are way too lenient on these types of issues, and it's wrong.
And there goes how we're painted, how the entire party gets painted.
And I hate that.
And I will say, like, our side is god awful of messaging. Like, we can't message ourselves out of a box.
Right.
Like, we're on the right side, the correct side of most of these issues. I feel, you feel, right? A lot of the country feels. But we can't get the message out there. Yeah. We can't get the message out there how good the economy is doing. We can't get the message out there on anything, or the fact that this immigration bill that the Republicans killed in the House, a bipartisan Senate-sponsored bill, was killed in the House for political reasons because Donald Trump says do this. We can't even get the public to understand that.
I agree.
We're terrible at messaging.
The messaging is not
awful.
Good. Joe Biden needs to be stronger on the messaging. Yeah. I agree all the way down.
They need to stop being afraid of showcasing him.
I agree.
He makes gaffes. He's always made gaffes. Lean into it. When he leans into it, he's funny.
Agree.
And he makes fun of it. Sure. Like people like that. It's amiable.
He needs
to
do
relatable.
More of that. Sure.
I can't tell you how many times I misspeak. Like constantly, probably 1,000 times on this.
There's one thing if there's a gaffe. There's a fine line difference between a gaffe and some of the things that Donald Trump has been saying, particularly when it comes to NATO. But while all this is going on,
he's just dangerous. That stuff is
dangerous.
Stuff with danger.
Yeah.
That's not a gaffe. That's just dangerous and complete. Yeah. It's not even being idiotic. Yeah. It's just he has no understanding of how the world works.
Agree. But while all this is going on, I've talked about gun control a lot on this show.
Which is what's going on right now, right?
And, we're following the breaking news.
Awful.
Of course, the Kansas City Chiefs just won the Super Bowl here in Las Vegas, and now they're celebrating, and their fans deserve to celebrate. Just like when the Aces won the WNBA championship here in Las Vegas.
And
they had it was fun, and the Knights, they all had a great celebration. There were no serious crimes committed, thank God. And now we're learning in Kansas City, at least 10 people have been shot in a mass shooting, and 2 people now are in custody, and we're learning more information. And you want to talk about something that has been a root problem in this country. If people want to talk about the border crisis, okay, but what are Republicans doing about all the gun violence in this country? And it sickens the hell out of me that God forbid, I hope nobody's lost their life. We just don't have that information yet, but we know of at least 10 victims that have been shot. So this is very serious. We're learning more as it comes in. And I've had it, and I'm so angry. All the guns out there. And we had the biggest mass shooting in our backyard in Las Vegas, October 1, and nothing is done. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to blame Democrats for this one. I'm blaming Republicans. Democrats have been trying to come up with solutions, particularly ever since Obama took office, and we had the assault weapons ban in the early 90s that fizzled out.
Columbine
Right.
is really what jump-started.
Yeah. But we know what will happen in Kansas City. The Republicans will say thoughts and prayers.
Right.
The Democrats will be doing what they should be doing, and that's saying we need to do something about this. Here's what we need to do.
Right, and then it'll die down until the next mass shooting next week, because
Correct.
it seems to be like what upsets me is that I send my 2 kids to school and hyperventilate pretty much every morning because that could be them. That could be their school. My husband is an elementary school teacher here, and he sent me pictures of on the ground face down because there's an active shooter in the neighborhood.
Right.
He had a little girl wet herself because they were on lockdown and she couldn't get to the bathroom. I mean, that is terrifying. So you imagine you have all these kids growing up and have been for the last 20 years in a state of constant fear that they go to the grocery store, they could be gunned down. They go to church, they could be gunned down, to a synagogue, to the movies. I mean, my child, from the time he was 6 years old, looks out. We go to the movies and goes, what do we do if someone comes in and starts shooting?
Right.
At 6 years old. How pathetic are we?
It is.
As a nation.
It is.
Right?
So it is. I agree with you.
We don't have this trouble in Europe.
No,
My
you're
mom
right.
is from Europe. We don't have this trouble.
You're right. So we're covering this breaking news story. Also, the breaking news, a very busy news day, a serious national security threat. We've learned Russia. It involves Russia military capability. I'm not going to speculate on what it is, but we're covering that story. George Santos' seat taken by a Democrat. Mayorkas has been impeached by MAGA Republicans, and we're going to take...
By one vote?
Correct, by one vote, thanks to Steve Scalise. What a despicable human being Steve Scalise is, by the way. Here's a guy that almost lost his life, and usually when people are that close to death, they come back and they help people. What the hell has Steve Scalise done? And by the way, this is the same douchebag that voted against stem cell research. And guess who took the stem cells? Steve Scalise in his battle with cancer. He's the one who took the stem cells, and he voted against stem cell research. He's the one that bagged on people for wearing masks.
Wait, but it's like
and
that in
now he's
healthcare.
wearing a mask.
Wait, but the Republicans do that in healthcare too. They have the Congress. They have the fantastic healthcare.
Yeah.
But they begrudge healthcare for the rest of the population. This is not a new thing. With Republicans.
A bunch of hypocritical douchebags, and
absolutely.
Steve Scalise is despicable. We're taking your phone calls on all these issues that I just mentioned. The number to call if you'd like to be a part of the show is 702-221-7283. Again, that number is 702-221-SAVE, 702-221-7283. We have Ileana Dropkin in studio as well.
And I'd love to hear from you.
Yes, and we're taking your phone calls. All right, who do we have on the line? Oh, we're going to take that phone call first. All right, here we go. Everybody's waiting for it. Julie is first up here on Pushing the Limits. Hello, Julie.
Hello, Brian. What is your suggestions for guns regulation?
Sure, I've talked about this ad nauseum on the show, and I am going to list at least 5 things that I think would lower gun violence in this country. First of all, we had an assault weapons ban in the early 90s that was fizzled out by Republicans. If you look up the gun violence when that assault ban was in place, the gun violence went way down. That's not a coincidence. Number 2, I believe you should be 21 years old to own a gun. Why? I don't think 18 years old, your brain is developed enough to purchase a gun. And if you're trained, number 3, if the argument is brave men and women in our military, they could shoot guns when they're 18. Well, here's the difference. There's mandatory training. That's my number 3. We need mandatory training, not 80 hours. Give me a 1-hour mandatory training course where you learn how to handle a gun, you learn how to load a gun, and you learn how to secure a gun safely.
Hold on to that. Also in the military, there's rigorous exams. Mental fitness. They have to be mentally fit. There isn't that when
Correct.
you go in right now.
So, Julie, that's only 3. I still have more. I still have more for you. You asked me a question. I still have more for you. Red flag laws. Now, in every state, the red flag laws are very, very different. But let me give you an example. In some states in this country, if your husband or wife calls you and says, I'm going to buy a gun and I'm going to kill you tonight, they'll be arrested. But in many of those states, the next day, they're allowed to legally purchase a gun. Now, I'm not saying if your neighbor lies and calls 911 and they don't like you, they say, he threatened me, take all of his guns away. This is a case-by-case basis, and red flag laws need to be put into effect. Now, if you just give me a couple of those, I'm not saying all the gun violence is going to be gone in this country, but it will lower the gun violence, and Republicans, most of them, are against every single one of those.
Okay, can I speak?
What do you mean, can you speak? You just asked me a question and I answered it.
Me. Yes, can I talk now? Mm-hmm.
Yes, please.
Okay, so we agree that we should raise the age to 21 because, I understand that the kids are not, the brain is not developed to understand or maybe to be trained. I agree with that. But do you agree with 8-year-old, deciding on sex change?
Okay, let me respond. You just asked me a question. One has absolutely nothing to do with the other, and it's the dumbest. Let me finish. Potter down. One has absolutely nothing to do with the other, and it's the dumbest analogy I've ever heard in my life. You asked me about gun violence, which has absolutely nothing to do with transgender surgery. Oh, yeah, by the way, an 8-year-old can't just walk into a hospital and say, cut off my genitals. That's not how it works. It involves parents and it involves doctors. But I digress and say again, one has absolutely nothing to do with the other. When you ask me a question about gun control, why do you talk about transgender surgery? And by the way, 8-year-olds are not the overwhelming majority of the ones committing mass shootings in this country. Nope. It's the dumbest analogy I've ever heard in my life, Julie. Even you, I think, is better than that to bring something like that up.
Don't yell at me. Don't
tell me how to do a radio show. Then don't say stupid. Guess what?
Do you know what?
Then don't say stupid things. Hey, Julie, don't say stupid things.
Hey, Brian, do you know what you're causing? Do you know what you're causing? More division with derogatory profanity and with disrespect.
Put her down again. Julie, you're the same person who supports Donald Trump. You don't like profanity. You don't like people raising their voice.
But
okay.
Only if it's directed at them because he does plenty of that to the rest of us.
Only if it's directed at your stupidity. But okay, I'll go with Julie for a moment, and I'm going to ask Julie the same question I tried to ask her yesterday because she wants people to respect others. By the way, I'm not running for president of the United States. I do a radio show. But Julie, let's go by your standards for a moment. Julie, what would you say about a political candidate going after women on looks, going after POWs, and a political candidate who I would imagine you voted for twice, going after Nikki Haley's husband as he is deployed overseas? Since you want to hold everybody to that standard, right? I would hope that you would agree with me that when you disrespect a POW, it's wrong. Will you admit with me on the air right now that going after a POW because they were captured or going after a brave man or woman service member and calling them losers or suckers is wrong? Would you agree with me on that, Julie? Can we agree on that one?
Is know what Biden is doing? Calling us MAGA?
Have a nice day, Julie. I don't have time for your stupidity today.
Biden's not making fun and disparaging the servicemen and women.
Yeah, so the bottom line here is that I gave her another opportunity. I gave Julie another opportunity.
That's usually like they always deflect back because they can't win on those arguments, right? So they deflect back,
right.
And it's like it doesn't make any sense.
Well, let's be very clear here. Gun violence in this country has nothing to do with transgender surgery. Now, I understand that a transgender woman pulled out an AR-15 at Joel Osteen's church. By the way, Joel Osteen is despicable in itself. He's despicable, but that's another story. And the right-wing media is trying to emphasize the fact that this was a transgender woman, which, by the way, has no bearing on the shooting at all.
Not the fact that she had the word Palestine on the weapon, right? Or the fact that she took a 5-year-old and put him or her. I don't remember.
And for whatever reason, Vivek Ramaswamy is obsessed with the transgender shooter who went into that school. Transgender shootings are less than 1% in this country of all the mass shootings.
Yeah, that's not.
Yet Republicans are obsessed with it, which has no bearing on this shooting. And when you talk about, that's what a lot of these MAGA Trumpers do. they can't stay on topic
because they can't win on like
Right.
they can't like it's a moot point. So
Yeah.
they have to attack something that they can gain traction on, or they think they can gain traction on. Right,
And-
attacking differences.
Right. And here Julie doesn't like the fact that I'm raising my voice. But one thing I've never done in my life, and by the way, I never will, is attack our brave men and women in uniform. As much as I dislike Ron DeSantis as a person, I respect his service to this country. And when I ask somebody, what's worse, raising your voice to a radio host, to a caller, or somebody running for president, a former president running for
Exactly.
president, again, attacking a service member for being captured, or in this case, attacking Nikki Haley's husband, and she can't even directly answer that very basic question.
But he did that to John McCain, and his base loved that. Like, that's disgusting what McCain endured, and then you make fun of that.
Yeah.
Like, there's just nothing to take seriously. I cannot take anyone seriously who thinks that that's okay.
I agree with you. It's just absolutely despicable, and I don't get it. All right, if you want to join the program, 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Again, 702-221-7283. We have Mary on the line. Hi, Mary. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind, Mary?
Thank you. Brian, I really appreciate what you do. And on the gun violence issue, I have to say I lived in Germany for almost 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
They have a very responsible program where there is requirement not just for training once. They have to go back on every year. They have stringent rules about gun storage, and they can only use the weapons for hunting or sport shooting.
Yeah.
I felt a hell of a lot safer in Germany than I do in America.
And that's sad. And
Thank you for
thank
talking.
you. Of course. Thank you for the phone call. That's really sad.
Yeah, thank you.
And while we're talking about gun control, I do have an update on this shooting, and it's tragic. We know right now at least one person has lost their life.
Gosh.
We know that there are at least 10 victims. We know some of those victims are children that are being treated. 3 people are in custody right now. This is a shooting at the Kansas City Chiefs victory parade. Children who wanted to go with their family members. They wanted to go with their family members to celebrate the Kansas City Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. And now they're in the hospital being treated. Innocent children. And we will hear Republicans saying thoughts and prayers today, or people like Julie talking about transgender surgery, which has absolutely nothing to do with all the gun violence in this country, and I'm sick of it. I am sick of it. I am angry, Ileana. I know you are as well.
Extremely.
It is absolutely sickening. All right, let's go back to the phone lines. The number to call, by the way, is 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you'd like to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Roy. Roy is next up on Pushing the Limits. Hi, Roy.
Good afternoon, Brian. How you doing?
Doing okay, Roy. What's on your mind?
Okay, a couple of things. I just heard about the incident in Kansas City, and of course that's horrible. And you're right. The Republicans won't do anything about it. They'll give their thoughts and prayers and complain about mental illness. But it's ridiculous. And do you know an 18-year-old cannot buy a pack of cigarettes, but they can buy an AR-15?
Yeah, it's insane.
Let's think about the insanity of that for a minute.
Yeah, it is insane. You're right.
As far as some of the other things you mentioned, Mayorkas, it's a complete waste of time. And instead of governing, they're worried about impeaching the guy. It's going to go nowhere. It's a crock. They didn't think it was necessary to impeach Donald Trump for what he did, but this guy they're going to impeach for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like what's happening at the border. My own view is I close the damn thing down, period.
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with the Democrats or Joe Biden on that.
Wait. The Democrats were trying to do that. That's exactly what was in the bill. It was giving the president the ability to close the border when it reached a certain threshold. So that's actually not true. Like, I'm so tired of everyone saying that our party is somehow complicit in not wanting to do anything because we were a part of the solution and the Republicans shot that down, and not all Republicans, the House Republicans, on orders of Donald Trump. So excuse me. No. No.
Believe me, I understand that, but I don't think anybody should be allowed in illegally. There are legal ways to come in. I don't think anybody should be allowed in. Not 4,000 people, not 1,000 people.
They have to fix
that's just my view.
Yeah, it has to be
the
fixed.
pathway to come in, though, because the fact is we do need migrant workers. Like, our economy doesn't work without them, and that's been proven over and over again by economists. Like, we need them.
Yeah.
They do the jobs that people here don't want to do.
Well, but the Republican Party is much more. The Republican Party is much more concerned about what books are in the library. We know that.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yep.
An interesting statement that Nikki Haley's husband made the other day is that animals don't put their dumbest in charge, which is what the Republicans are attempting to do again.
Roy,
So
you're right.
Whole party.
Yeah, you're Roy.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's a good point.
I like
You're
that point.
absolutely right. And another tragic day, another shooting. This time at the Kansas City Chiefs Victory Parade. Roy, I do appreciate your call, sir. Thank you so much.
No problem.
I have somebody
Bye-bye.
on social media that said we don't need another white liberal talking about MAGA. Well, first of all, sir, I'm not a liberal. I'm a registered independent. And if your Lord and Savior, Cheeto Jesus, wins, going to have to be because of people like me. I'm not a liberal. I'm a registered independent. I believe in border security. I believe in capital punishment. And I also believe in our democracy, sir. And if you have a problem with my skin color, because you mentioned I'm white, there's a reason why Donald Trump can't get 15% of the black vote. Maybe you should ask yourself that question before attacking the color of my skin. 702-221-7283, covering all the breaking news. Let's go to Drew. Drew is next up on Pushing the Limits. Hello, Drew.
Yes, this is the first time I've called. I've been watching you guys quite a bit, but
thank you.
I like watching your show because, it just speaks a lot about Donald Trump.
Yeah, I try to speak the truth. I try to do that on this show, and a lot of the MAGAs don't like it.
Well, he's a horrible man. Like, I asked a Donald Trump fan why she liked him, and she was a woman yesterday. And she said, "Oh, because the economy was really well when he was president." But it was the last president who made the economy well. It was it came from his.
You know what, though? They'll always come up with an excuse, right?
Yeah,
Just
that's
ask your friend, how was the economy that Donald Trump left off for Joe Biden? And ask her, who dropped off a better economy? Who left with a better economy? Barack Obama when he left the White House, or Donald Trump? And their excuse, of course, will be, well, it wasn't his fault with, COVID and all that stuff. I said, okay. But do you think
before COVID?
Yeah,
make the judge before COVID.
Yeah, even that. But did he handle COVID really well? Who took over a better economy? Why is it that the Republicans always leave the incoming president with a atrocious economy? George W. Bush, a perfect example of that. And Obama fixes their problems. Okay, why is it? Joe Biden is doing the exact same thing. Joe Biden's not perfect. Inflation is way down. Unemployment numbers way down. Job growth way up. The NASDAQ way up. You look at manufacturing, way up. But yet Republicans will try to make the case that Joe Biden is ruining the economy. They can't spell the word fact. And I wish Joe Biden would just run in his record. Do we have issues at the border? Absolutely. But when you have Democrats and Republicans that are attempting to work together coming up with this bill, and then the MAGA Republicans say, nope, we're not going to sign off on it. And guess what? They don't have the right to complain anymore.
I just think it's easier to believe lies. So when people come in and they're lying, it's just easier for the population to believe the lies than it is to believe the truth. It's more fun to believe the lies. It's more fun for them to say, hey, it's all their fault. Do you see all this? All of your woes, the prices at the grocery store, this is all because the Democratic Party, all of everything that we're doing on our side, though, like we're the real people, we're the saviors. And the Democrats can't message that back. They can never define themselves before the Republicans go ahead and start doing that, because we're not good at lying.
And Ileana, this is what I have to deal with some of these MAGAs on social media right now. First of all, somebody says you're lying. My response to that is always, okay.
Where's the facts?
Give me an example.
Where's the proof?
Give me an example of something that I'm lying about.
Exactly.
And then they bumble over their words, and they're in the bunker, and maybe they have Alzheimer's. I don't know. You call me a liar, call in and tell me what I'm lying about. And then
but bring facts,
and then
not,
I have
not just opinion.
Right, and then I have somebody else saying, "Have you been to the grocery store lately?" Well, your Messiah, Cheeto Jesus, doesn't go to the grocery store, but yes, I have. And if you look at where the prices were on groceries, see, sir, this is what we mean when we say the economy has been headed in the right direction. This might be hard for some of you to understand. In 2021, look at the price of groceries compared to now. They've been going down. Now, they're not at the same price they were before the pandemic, and that's not Joe Biden's fault.
No, it's very complicated. It's a very economics is extremely complicated.
But they think because groceries are at a higher price now than they were before the pandemic, somehow that's Joe Biden's fault, and you can't speak logically to these people.
Because wages are also up.
Correct.
Wages are up over inflation for the first time in a while.
Yeah.
So it is going down. They actually expect inflation to be down right around 2%. So we're heading in the right direction, but they're not going to give. And it is true, like the American consumer doesn't feel like that. They don't feel positive.
I hate to keep bringing you these numbers because it's heartbreaking to me, but I do a news talk show here, and I have to. Now reports are that at least 15 people have been shot at this Kansas City Chiefs parade. 15 people. Heartbreaking. We're going to continue to cover the story, obviously. It's a big one, and I wish I didn't have to do this. 702-221-7283. Ileana Dropkin joining us in studio. Let's take some more phone calls. Who should we go to next? Let's go to Ahmed. Ahmed is next. Hi, Ahmed. Thank you for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, brother, how are you doing? I appreciate you talking about gun violence because I lost my brother due to gun violence
I'm so sorry.
2017.
That's so sorry to hear that. That's
Thank
terrible.
you, sir. Yes. What will take for the Republican Party to do something about guns? And why is not a major motivation for voters like abortion?
It's a good question, Ahmed.
I don't know why.
I'm going to give you an answer, and it's a good question, Ahmed. Sadly, and I don't root for this to happen, I don't want it to happen, unless something happens to one of their family members, like what happened to your brother. Unless it happens to them, I don't think they care. And I wish I had a better answer for you, but for some of these MAGA Republicans, the back pocket of the NRA, I don't think there's any way they change their views unless something horrible happens to a member of their family.
It has to be the masses of their party,
right,
like rising up saying we want change, because it happened to Steve Scalise himself, right? Like, it has happened to them, and they still aren't coming out and doing anything about it. So it has to be the masses. They're more afraid of the voters than they are of the guns.
You're right. That's a great point. They're really more afraid of the voters than the guns, and I agree with Ileana and what she said, Ahmed. She's right.
Oh, yeah. I agree with you. I don't know. Like, it is a sad situation. Like, every time I hear mass shooting and all that stuff, I remember my brother and the pain we went through as a family.
I'm so sorry.
It is not easy, I swear to God. Especially like my brother came in to America in 2012 as a refugee, and he was working at a pizza shop, and someone bought a gun from I don't know, they call it ghost gun. I don't know, in the black market.
Yeah. I am so sorry, Ahmed, and you've been through it. Can you imagine, Ahmed? You probably know better than anybody. There are families right now on edge. Their children are being treated for being shot at this Kansas City Chiefs parade today.
Just celebrating.
Just celebrating in a parade, the football team winning the Super Bowl. And now we know of at least 15 people that were shot, one person dead. And it's never ending. It's never ending.
One politician said something that is good. I forgot her name. We should do an open casket. Let me tell you, when I saw my brother once, I swear to God, oh my God,
it's something you never forget. And you should have never, you and your family should have never had to go through that, Ahmed. I am so sorry. And let me tell you something. Your brother cannot have died in vain. We need to fight, and we need to continue to fight and push Republicans, vote them out of office, and put Republicans in office that are willing to do something about this horrible. They want to call the border a crisis, but they never want to call the gun violence in this country a crisis.
This is an epidemic.
Amen.
Yeah. Ahmed, I'm sorry for your loss, brother. I appreciate you calling in, okay?
This is why we need to always vote blue, no matter who. I don't care.
When it comes to gun violence, I'm with you. I'm with you, Ahmed. I'm with you 150%, my friend. You take care, and I appreciate your call, sir, okay? Thank you.
And
Thank you so much.
Not only the fear, but the mental health of any time this happens,
Yep.
the fear that it causes with the general population of having to go and constantly think about things like that. It's just so. It's something that no society should have to go through, and we're so dumb because we're doing it to ourselves.
And these people on the right say more guns make us safer. I mean, some of the biggest morons you see in society. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Again, that number, if you want to be a part of the conversation, is 702-221-SAVE. It is interesting. The people that call me liars are people that don't call into the show. They have nothing to go on. Let's go to Paul. Paul is next up on Pushing the Limits. I don't know. Maybe Paul's going to call me a liar. I don't know. What's up, Paul?
No. Hey, before can we use profanity on the air here, or is that I want to be respectful of your program before I do that?
We can't. There are some FCC regulations, but you can improvise.
That's what. Okay, that's fine. What kind of effed up country are we that we have that we're here battling, transgender bathrooms and flags and impeaching Mayorkas and this party that preaches pro-life, and they don't say a damn thing when people are shot with guns. They're not protesting. They're not out there saying nothing about it. Nothing at Sandy Hook. Nothing at Uvalde. Absolutely nothing. It just makes me livid that we're in this country that claims to be pro-life and one party that claims to follow Jesus doesn't care about anybody that's not a straight white Christian. And I don't understand why everybody in this country is not pissed off.
Well, I don't think they're pro-life, they're pro-fetus.
They call themselves, They are. They're not pro-life because they don't care once the baby's born, if it starves to death, if it's homeless.
Well, they don't care about the mother either
medical treatment.
who births the baby.
Yeah.
Like, they're not pro-life, they're pro-fetus.
Yeah.
I know, but how can we keep doing this as a country? And listen, I love my kids, but I can be critical. I can love this country and say we're an effed up country that we hide behind this white fake patriotism with guys that are overweight with beards and tattoos that call themselves freedom patriots. They can't even do a push-up because of two sentences written in the time of slave owners. Yeah. How can we just say this is okay over and over and over and over and not do a damn thing about it? I don't understand how these people keep voting for these idiots because of a gun. Like, I own a gun, Ryan. I'm a Democrat. I'm a Christian. But I'll tell you what, if something were to hypothetically say, if everybody in this country turned in their guns and we can guarantee that not one more kid was shot in a school, I would do it today. Yeah. Because I'm doing it for the benefit of the society versus Republicans and Christian nationalists that only give a damn about themselves.
You know what's it's interesting because
you're always the victim.
As you're speaking, Paul, and by the way, I agree with everything you just said. There are MAGAs on social media that are saying you are theatrical. It's interesting. These are the same people that will never call Donald Trump theatrical when he mocks people for their looks, when he mocks people for their heritage, when he mocks POWs and Gold Star families. Oh, no, it's Donald Trump that's not theatrical, but Paul is theatrical when he speaks truth. We have 15 people at least right now that have been shot. I would imagine innocent people, including children, that were just wanted to celebrate the Kansas City Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. And we should be angry. It's not theatrics for you bozo clowns out there. It's true passion and anger because we don't want innocent people to be shot and killed. There's nothing theatrical about that. You know what's theatrical? When Donald Trump gets up on a stage and he talks about Nikki Haley's husband, when he gets on a stage and he calls Mexicans rapists and bad people, and I suppose some of them are good people. That's theatrical. That's bigotry.
And it's dangerous.
What we're doing is not theatrical. It's called passion, and we're angry because innocent people are died. You want to know what theatrics are? Talking about drag queen reading. Because last I checked, not one children has been killed for going to a drag queen reading. But if you ask Republicans, they'll talk about drag queen reading as if it's worse than all the gun violence in this country. This isn't theatrics. This is truth.
Right. It is. But, Brian, here's the problem. I cared about Colin Kaepernick and Breonna Taylor and George Floyd. Like, I give a crap about them. It didn't affect me. And the problem with the MAGAs is they only care about themselves because they've been indoctrinated to think that these idiots who are dating their sisters and marrying their cousins, they're freedom fighters, that somehow that they're the victim and someone's always coming after them. They don't care about anybody else until it affects them. And that's the problem. They're the most selfish people, and I say this as a former Republican who voted for Trump the first time. They're the most selfish people in this country because they don't give a damn about you or me or anybody that disagrees with them. They want everybody to conform to what they want their religion to be. It's so, these people are freaking, they're dead, Brian. They're dead. They're not going home to their families. And instead of being upset like you and I and your guest, you know what their first thought is? Oh, here comes Joe Biden taking my gun. They don't give a crap how many people are killed. If it's 1,000, they wouldn't care. They'd be like, you're not taking my gun. Let me put up my Don't Tread on Me flag and pretend to be a patriot. That's what's so sad is they don't give a crap about anybody but themselves.
But the Democrats don't want to take everyone's guns. Like,
Right.
that's the thing. We just want some common sense things put into place. We're not advocating to go out and take everyone's guns, and I really wish my party would do a better job with explaining this, or just keep out there saying, we don't want your guns.
You know
Keep
what's
your
interesting?
guns.
I had a conversation with
Please.
Beto O'Rourke about this issue, and he was nice enough to call me several months back, after I had lost my sister, and a really nice man. And I did talk to him about gun control. I said, Beto, how frustrating is it that people think you want to take everyone's guns away? And yeah, he laughed and he says it's extremely frustrating. Beto O'Rourke and no Democrat in office today has ever said they want to take all your guns away. What they have said are a lot of things that I echo, which are we need an assault weapons ban. These AR-15s and these assault weapons should not be on the market. It should be 18 to 21 to purchase a gun. Yes, we need to do a better job with mental health, but we also need to do a better job training people how to store their guns and use their guns, and red flag laws need to be better imposed. Those are some very basic things. That doesn't mean we want to take all your guns away. The Republicans who say that are liars.
Listen,
And
they're
but
little
here's
kids,
the last-
sorry, just really quickly, they're actually, and there was an instance here in an elementary school where a 5-year-old brought a gun to school because he was terrified because they just had a lockdown the day before. So the fact that he had access to this is absolutely amazing, but in a horrific way. But he was terrified. He wanted to protect his friends. How sad is it that a 5-year-old feels that he has to bring a gun to school to protect his friends from being murdered? Like, that's not sick.
So sad.
And then there's people that
It is
want to.
sick.
There's people that want to get into the weeds with me. It happens all the time. What's an assault rifle?
Right.
You don't know what an assault rifle is. And my
We
response to them is this: number one, why is it in the biggest mass shootings in this country an AR-15 is always the weapon of choice usually? And number two, if you want to get into the weeds with me on what an assault weapon is, then why don't you tell me what your solutions are? Because what we're doing in this country right now is not working. So instead of getting into an argument with me about what an assault weapon is, I want to know what your solutions are. I've given mine. The Democrats have given theirs. What is your solution? And don't tell me locking schools and arming kindergarten teachers and giving people more guns is the answer, because you're a dope if those are your solutions. Give me some solutions. I'm not interested in getting into a conversation on what an assault weapon is. The weapons that were used October 1, the weapons that were used in Columbine, the weapons that were used in the Buffalo supermarket, the weapons that were used at Uvalde, Texas. And I would be willing to bet the weapons that were used in Kansas City. Why do they always use these weapons? Why?
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you.
I'm sick of it. I'm sick of talking about these mass shootings every day. I'm tired of it.
Well, those weapons are weapons of war.
Yes, Paul.
They're not
Brian.
for shooting.
So let me finish on this because so you can get another caller. But here's the thing, and I've learned this as I happen to be a Democrat, but I will vote for any party regardless of how I feel. The Constitution, and this is what they're white Trump supporters. They want to make America white again. This is what they don't understand. The Constitution was written by white slave owners that owned black people, that said that a black person was only worth, 3/5 of a person? The Second Amendment was written, unless I'm wrong, correct me, to prevent uprising from black slaves in the Carolinas from getting their own freedom. That's what it was designed for.
Yeah. No, you're right.
And they don't want it, but they're taking 2 sentences out of an entire document and taking it to somehow that they're privileged. Take Martin Luther King. The guy fought for other people just like Colin Kaepernick did. He stood up for voting rights. He stood up for black people, for people that were poor, for people that didn't have a voice. Yeah. And what did the white people do?
Yeah.
Oh, they threw bricks at John Lewis. They put bombs on his porch from people that call themselves Christians.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, right? Is the black people had every right to be upset, and they peacefully protested over and over again. But these guys lose an election, and they lose their junk, and they somehow act like they're the victims.
Yeah, no, amen, Paul.
That's what I don't understand.
I don't either.
We took the Native
That's
Americans
very
out,
valid
the
points,
Hawaiians.
I'm with you,
Anyway,
Paul.
so-
I'm with you 150%, my friend. Well spoken, and I appreciate your call. I share your passion, and all we can do is keep fighting the fight. Thanks for the call, Paul. We appreciate you.
Volunteer, vote. For
You know-
everyone calling in who's on this side, like volunteer, vote, get your friends, get your
Ileana,
neighbors, get involved. Oh my gosh.
It's so frustrating that some of these people on social media that don't understand a word that I say. For example,
Well, most people
there's-
can't read
there's
at
somebody on social media that said
school level.
most shootings are not done by AR-15s; they're handguns.
No.
I never said that most shootings
Not
are
not
done.
the mass not the
All
mass
right,
shootings.
I never said that most shootings are done from AR-15s. So I'm going to speak very slowly so that the MAGA ears can hopefully understand. What I said was the biggest mass shootings in this
Right.
country are done with weapons of AR-15s. And I just named you some of the biggest mass shootings in the history of this country. I never said most shootings, but I know some of you MAGA people out there that have no solutions to gun control and gun violence want to, change my wording. Guess what? It doesn't work. It's not my fault that you have no comprehension. Most of the mass shootings in this country, the biggest mass shootings that this country has ever faced, where at least 4 people die, in this case 10 people, 20 people, 30 people, children, are not from handguns. They are from AR-15s.
Weapons
Period.
of war. Those are weapons of war.
Right.
That's why they should be outlawed.
Exactly.
No one's gonna hunt Bambi with an AR-15.
Why is that so hard, Ileana, for these people to understand that?
Because it goes back to how they're able to, all they're absorbing is you're trying to take my weapons, so I must stand my ground and defend my house and defend. You don't need to defend your house with a weapon of war.
And my question
We're
to
not
these
at
people
war.
who want
Thank
to
goodness.
correct, these people that want to get into the weeds with me on what an assault weapon is. Oh, you don't know what you're talking. I say, okay.
Anything that's rapid fire.
Yeah. And what I tell these people all the time, it's the same conversation. Okay, you're passionate about your guns, no problem. You think you know more about guns than me, no problem. Let's give you that. What are your solutions? We have more gun violence in this country than we have ever had in the history of this nation. What are your solutions? And they fumble. They don't know what to say. Or they'll say something like, wow, we need to do a better job with mentally ill. And my response to them is, okay.
Yes, that's one of it.
Give me
It's
some
part of it.
policies. And number 2, why is it that, do you think there's only mentally ill people in this country? No, there's mentally ill people all over the world. Why do we have this problem at such high levels in this country? And I will tell you why.
Access.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's access. It's
It's a
all
very
access.
simple,
Yeah.
exactly. It's a very simple response.
But we don't want to take the guns. Like I'm in a Democratic household. I grew up in a Democratic household. We have guns. Like we owned a pawn shop, so my dad was a dealer. We have guns, but it's responsible. I was trained. I know how to shoot. I like shooting. My husband likes shooting. But we're not. We don't want other people to be harmed. I don't like the feeling that when my family goes out of the house, I have to worry that they might be involved in an incident. My 14-year-old was involved in an incident here a few months ago, and it didn't make the papers because the guy wasn't necessarily shooting up the school, but he was shooting in the direction of the school, of where she was shoved into a class by police, scared to death. They shot a car with her friends driving in it, and it wasn't a big deal. It didn't make a big deal because they weren't aiming at the school. It was some guy who shot someone else in an apartment and started shooting at the school.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have to worry about that when we send our friends and family to work or go out of the house or us ourselves. It's
I agree.
stupid.
And there's somebody on social media, again, another ridiculous, he says, I'm holding a gun right now and it's not doing anything. The same argument you hear from people on the right.
Great.
Guns don't kill people.
But we're not worried about you.
Guns don't kill people. People kill people. And then by that logic, you're saying it's okay to have tankers, armed tankers. By that logic, you're saying everybody should be allowed to own a machine gun. Everybody should be allowed to hold grenades and have grenades and weapons of mass destruction. Well, guess what? There are laws in this country because the average human being that is not in law enforcement or serving should not be allowed to have those weapons in order to defend themselves. There are rules and regulations, okay? A responsible militia. And for people out there that say, good people beat bad, get bad people with a gun. Well, guess what? In Kansas City today, and I wish this wasn't the case, and I'm seeing the videos of people running for their lives. There were a lot of good guys with guns.
Exactly.
Okay? There were a lot of law enforcement, police officers, tons of armed people, good guys. And guess what?
Can't always
Children,
guys
there
with
are
guns.
children now that are now being treated for gunshot wounds in the hospital. Okay?
And who knows how many are not with us anymore just for celebrating.
Yeah. And we
Just
know
for celebrating.
And we know one person that's dead. There are several people right now that are in critical condition. Our hearts go out to them, and we pray that they make it. Why? Why is this pandemic? And that's what it is, as Ileana
I don't
pointed
want to
out.
pray.
Why?
I want people to get up, rise up, and get involved.
Yeah.
Unless you get involved, your thoughts and prayers mean absolutely nothing. Words mean nothing unless you back it up. So get involved. Vote. Do more than just feel bad about it.
Yeah. I mean, vote these Republicans out that are willing to do nothing.
Exactly. Get involved. Don't just sit there.
I'm looking at video
Yeah, it's awful.
of people running for their lives and shooting, and people that are on the ground, and you see video of someone actually. There's crazy video of actually the person shooting.
So that's the shooter that is being tackled by a bunch of civilians.
And so there are heroes in the
Yes.
crowd. There are heroes.
And it wasn't the people with it wasn't the police, right?
Right.
There's not enough. We can't have, there's not enough on the streets to keep, so thank goodness for those people, but
There are
awful.
good Samaritans and heroes that probably saved so many lives. I'm sure they did. And, just very lucky that there are people like that in society that are willing to risk everything.
But they shouldn't have to.
They shouldn't have to.
This is why we have trained people who go into that, the heroes, the men in blue, but this is why it is not for the rest of us to have to go and shield or jump on someone with a weapon without the training. This is not what we should be doing. And everyone should be mad, just mad and angry about this.
I agree, and certainly I am. Let's take a few more phone calls. The number to call, by the way, is 702-221-7283. We have enough time to take a few more calls, so let's do so right now. Let's go to Lori. Lori next up on Pushing the Limits. Hi, Lori.
Hi.
Hi, Lori.
I'm going to try not to sound like the last guy, but I'm just as mad. You know who I blame?
Who's that?
I blame Fox. I blame QAnon. I blame all the news agencies that were pushing this Taylor Swift, Travis bullshit. Bull.
Yeah.
We did talk about that was dangerous. Remember we said that.
Yeah, it's dangerous rhetoric.
That's
rhetoric is
exactly who caused this. They are the only reason this happened today.
Oh, we'll see.
Well, I don't know the motives or who the people are that pulled the trigger.
Right,
What I will
we
tell
can
you,
assume.
what I will tell you is that there are way too many guns in society. 140 guns per 100 people per capita in this country. We are a nation that is obsessed with our guns, and we have a lot of people on the far right that care more about their A+ rating from the NRA than innocent people dying. And until we get better people in office that have a moral compass, this pandemic is only going to get worse when it comes to gun violence.
And the sad thing is we've become immune to it. We're used to the breaking news. We're used to,
Right.
oh, it's another shooting. Oh, it's another
Right.
one.
It's the clicking watch of the hypnotist. They use it quite well.
Yeah. It's a horrible situation. It's devastating. My heart goes out to the families, and I am so angry. And I'm watching these people performing CPR on some of these individuals that were shot and killed, or at least one of them. It is gut-wrenching. People that just want to celebrate the Kansas City Chiefs winning a Super Bowl. Lori,
Correct.
I'm with you, Lori. We all should be upset and angry, and we need to do better, and we need better people in office.
Get out there, volunteer.
Biden needs to make an executive order and ban these weapons today.
I couldn't agree with you more, Lori. I'm with you 150%, and I appreciate
I think
your
that'll get him the win 100%. I think that'll win in November of everything he's done.
I'm with you. These idiots like Donald Trump Jr. shooting their deer with their AR-15s, they're all deplorable,
Oh,
despicable.
right. Yeah,
They're
we won't talk about him today.
Yeah, I'll try not to. Lori,
But
thank
he
you.
trolls you. That's good. He trolls you.
Yeah, I did see that he was trolling this show, Donald Trump Jr., by the way. That is true.
Awesome.
Well, he can, Donald Trump's two kids, Uday and Kusei. That's what I call them. Lori, thank you so much for the call. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Right?
Yeah, Donald Trump
Bye.
Jr. Donald Trump Jr. listening to this show. 70222. That is true. He did tweet out to me, which is interesting. Oh, he would never do that. He's a coward. He's out there with his stupid outfit shooting deer. Let's go to Isabel, who's next up on Pushing the Limits.
Most bullies are cowards.
Hi, Isabel.
Hi. I'm with Lori on this. Honestly, I don't think this would have happened had the Republicans not been pushing all the hate against the Chiefs. I honestly think that the blood of these people are on the hands of everybody who's pushing the lies and are continuing to push the lies even after they saw that Taylor didn't come out and make a political election of who was going to be president and all that great stuff. Now they're saying, that she's going to have the Antichrist, and it was all applaud and so forth. I honestly think that Fox and all of these news channels, they're pushing these lies, should have their broadcasting license pulled. We cannot continue to lie to the public the way they're doing. We cannot continue to act so careless with the lives of people and at the same time try to pretend that you're pro-life because you are killing Americans. You are putting them in harm's way when they shouldn't be there.
Amen. I agree. Very well said. I don't know the cause of this shooting, but again, I can go back and tell you that sending pipe bombs to CNN, the shooting in Texas, El Paso, where the manifesto mentioned Donald
that was
Trump.
all provoked by Trump.
Absolutely. I'm with you 100%, and that's why I'm bringing these up.
Well, it
I agree.
Up the crazies. Like you have people who are already mentally ill, and then it just stokes.
Yeah.
It just stokes the fire in these people, right? But like to your point, I do agree with you. I've always said that it was dangerous. The Taylor Swift rhetoric. I wrote an op-ed about it. That it's absolutely dangerous. But again, this is not an isolated incident. We have this nonstop. So the people who are going into the schools and shooting up babies are not like this was way before Donald Trump.
And let me be clear.
Right?
I'm not blaming Donald Trump for every mass shooting in this country. Here's what I am doing.
I'm blaming Republicans.
That's what I was going to get to. I'm blaming the noisemakers, not the lawmakers on the far right that refuse to do anything when it comes to gun. We don't have to agree on everything, but at least give me some real solutions, not lock the back door of our school like Ted Cruz said after the Uvalde, Texas shooting. I mean, not arm our kindergarten teachers. I'm talking about real fair solutions where Democrats and Republicans can work together.
Wait, and if you talk about Uvalde, you couldn't even get the police to go into the school to save the babies.
Yeah.
Because they had guns.
Outgunned.
They were
How
terrified.
are you putting guns in people's hands that the police officers themselves cannot defend themselves against?
Exactly. They were terrified.
Isabel, I appreciate your call. I share your passion,
Thank you,
and we're all upset. And this is another tragedy that's taken place in Kansas City. Isabel, it's good to hear from you. Please call back again, okay?
Live right in front of us.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Isabel. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Who do we have next on the line? We have Susan, I believe. Hi, Susan. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hi, Susan.
Oh, we have Sharon next. Okay,
hi,
I
Sharon.
got that one wrong. I'm sorry. Sharon, I got my S's mixed up. Hi, Sharon. Sharon, are you there? Did we lose Sharon? Hi, Sharon. Did we lose Sharon? 702-221-7283. Let's go. Let's see. Who do we have here on the line? We'll get it right, folks. Don't worry. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation. Who do we have next on the line here? We got a bunch of people on hold, but I don't know which person to go to next. We do have enough time for a few more callers if you'd like to be a part of the show. All right, Numchuck, who do we got next here on the line? We have Annie next on the line. Hi, Annie. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Ay vey, mamma mia, I cannot believe such thing. I have such kvetch. Okay, the thing that I wanted to say, I love your guest, and I wanted to give much praise to everything she has said.
Thank you.
Also, you're so very welcome. I wanted to also express that just with the last few minutes, dear, that when you said you can send all the prayers, you can do all that, but what people need to do is get out and vote. And that is so how do I explain this? It's so overlooked that, and by the way, when you think about when people mean the best intentions, sending my prayers, our prayers, that's really kind of selfish to a point because it's not going to get much done.
And it
And
doesn't do
also
anything for anyone.
What?
It doesn't do anything for anyone. It's like a form letter. It's like getting a form letter.
Absolutely, honey. Absolutely. And one quick thing, because I know there's other people who are just dying to get in here, is also Mr. Shapiro. Great job always. I love that you have a teeter-totter, meaning that either one side or the other, you keep them coming back and forth. Teeter-totter. I love it. Now, you know, Matthew McConaughey, the actor.
Yep.
He got grants. He and his wife for Uvalde, which is where he was born and raised to a point in his life. But what is disappointing is that he only goes so far.
Agree.
I've listened to him speak so many times, and yet he's not out there.
No, he's a coward.
Bitching.
He's a coward because he won't call out Governor Abbott. He won't call out Republicans. I'm sure he's angry like we all are, but he doesn't talk about the real root problems. He's upset. He's angry, but he won't call out his fellow Republicans. In my opinion, Matthew McConaughey is useless when it comes to this issue. He does a lot of stuff for charity. He's a nice man. But when it comes to gun control, he's a coward because he won't call out Governor Abbott.
And I think even though he's such a big star, I think there's a fear on that if he's too forceful on that he'll be ostracized by
Well, then don't talk about it then. Then don't talk about it to begin with. I agree with you, by the way.
It's just the power of the bullies, right?
Thank you for
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your kind words.
Love you both.
I thank you for your kind
you.
words. I appreciate you. We love you as well. Thank you. Well, Ileana, I appreciate you being here on a very, very busy news day. I know we have more people on hold. Sit tight. We'll get to your calls on the other side. But speaking of gun control, the guy joining us in the studio next served in the United States Army for 9 years, earned his associate's degree in military intelligence, and guess what? His name is Hunter Kane. He's running as a Democrat for county commission, and I know he's going to have some strong opinions on this issue and many other issues. Also was a senior staffer with the United States House of Representatives.
So when we talk about voting, when I talk about getting involved in voting, it's also knowing your candidates. So I hope everyone out there really listens to him. And then if you like him, volunteer for his campaign. Get out there, get some grassroots going, because that's how, and then get everyone to the polls.
Amen.
Right? That's how we make changes. Otherwise, we end up in a loop.
Amen.
Right?
I'm
so
with you.
get involved.
Ileana, thank you so much for being here.
We'll
have you in again soon. Hunter Kane's going to be coming up next, so stick around. We'll take more calls on the other side. 702-221-7283. We'll be back with Hunter Kane right after this. Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. You know, I always love interviewing all sorts of different people. We started the show today by former presidential candidate Joe Walsh joined me. He's now anti-Trump. You see him on CNN almost every day. I love Joe Walsh. We talked about so many different issues, so many different national issues. We just had Ileana in studio, very active within the Democratic Party, lovely lady. And the man we have in studio with us right now, I have so much respect for. He served in the United States Army from 2001 to 2010. He's fostered 36 kids, even though you just heard his ad and he said 35. He short sold himself by one. He's a father to 11 of those. And he's also a senior staffer of the United States House of Representatives. He's running for office as a Democrat for county commission. He certainly has my vote. Just an amazing life that this man has lived. And as I say, he walks the walk and he talks the talk with the way he's lived his life. I'm talking about Hunter Kane, who joins us right now. As I mentioned, he's running for County Commission District C. Hunter, it is good to see you as always, my friend. How are you?
I am doing great. Thank you very much. And, you know, as you even said in the intro, I just believe in service. So I have a life of service.
Your whole life, you've served the public. And this has to break your heart. I have to bring this up to start because it's the breaking news. And we were going to talk about gun control anyway. Kansas City Chiefs Parade.
Yeah.
The news is coming in. I don't know what the motives are. I don't want to speculate on that, but here's what we do know. At least one person has lost their life. Children were struck and shot. Oh, at least 15 people have been injured. What's your reaction to this?
I would like to have a very heartfelt reaction, and I wish I could do some warm and fuzzies, but truth of the matter is, this happened today. By tomorrow, we'll be hearing the thoughts and prayers from our current elected leaders. By the day after that, we'll be back in the gun debate. Should we get rid of them, leave them, things like that? And it just seems like it's a pattern that just keeps going on and on. And I'm one of those people. I've always said, let's resolve the issue. Let's keep it out of just the left and the right viewpoints and say, what is the way that we can resolve? Mental health is an aspect of it. Access to them are one of the reasons that this is happening. The fact that it's a large gathering, you know, there's all these different type of viewpoints, but none of them are going to be talked about, unfortunately.
And it's unfortunate, but I will say a lot of them are talked about from the left. I will give them credit.
Yes.
A lot from the left as far as solutions. Even though people might not agree with all the solutions, I tend to agree with a lot of them.
The ones that I came up with are from the left. I didn't hear from the right. You know, the right is the first thing they're going to say is, don't take my guns. I'm like, I'm not even talking to you about the guns yet.
Right.
I'm talking to you about this, but that's the only thing they're going to say.
You know, it seems like, and then we're going to get to some local issues, of course, as well with you. But from the right, they want to, you know, they impeach Mayorkas. They want to talk about border security and issues at the border. I don't hear them talking about gun control. I don't hear them talking about health care. I don't hear them talking about so many issues that most Americans care about, Republican and Democrat. All they want to talk about is the border and blame Joe Biden for everything.
You know, last time I was here, I told you that I was nonpartisan for many years.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, Bernie brought me over.
Bernie Sanders, yep.
Bernie Sanders, yeah.
Yep.
And one of the reasons, you know, that, you know, I've talked with a friend who's like, well, how come you're not running as a Republican, or how come you're not doing this? And I was like, because I'm actually trying to solve things. And I feel like you have to kind of have a lobotomy, you know, to be, you know, deep Republican. It's why would you turn around and what benefit does it have impeaching our secretary? Mm-hmm. None. It's a gotcha to be able to say, look, there's corrupt people in the Biden administration. Look, there's people not acting. But it's not for any type of real purpose. I could think of a million other different things to do. Same thing with the border crisis. It's kind of like, you know, they are the ones that are stopping the funding for the border crisis because Trump is telling them, no, I want this to be my thing. So it's not about solutions. And there's only one party right now that is actually caring about those solutions.
I agree. Now, you're somebody, as I say, walk the walk and talk the talk. You're somebody who served this country honorably. Do you agree with me that you should have to be 21 to purchase a gun? What are your thoughts on that? I understand if you're 18 and you serve this country, but you have to be trained on how to use the weapon. An 18-year-old in this country, in any state in this country, can walk into a gun store with zero training and purchase a gun. Are you okay with that?
No. I think 18 is... Imagine what's going on in an 18-year-old's head. A lot of them are just graduating high schools. They maybe have their first, maybe second serious relationship. They might be moving. They might be going to college. They have so many different stresses going on in their life. And now we're saying, because it's cool and fashionable, let's give them a gun.
Right.
And it's one of those different arguments when people are talking. I'm just sitting here like, that's the worst time to give a person a loaded gun with no training at all. So it's different if in our country we had a culture of training them in high school students, and then maybe there. If we have a culture of, okay, well, after you do your service, then we could turn around and, talk about, allowing a gun a license easier. I mean, even if you look overseas to a lot of our, close allies and neighbors, the purchase of a gun, even for, recreational use, for hunting, for whatever it is, it's not as simple as, hey, yesterday you weren't allowed to, today you're 18, it's completely good to go, it's all yours.
So, as somebody who's running for county commissioner, is there, if you win, is there anything you can do to push our politicians to change some of the laws in this state of Nevada? Is there anything you can do if you are the commissioner?
So, if I'm being real with you,
yeah,
there's plenty of things to do. There's nothing that you can do and win elections. So I think that's where the gray area comes from. It's, a lot of the red flag laws people don't like, so you can't really approach that. And then on the opposite side, training using our Clark County shooting range, and saying we want to start having kids have field trips there. It's not a subject you can breach at all. There's a lot of different type of things that are happy mediums, but one side is going to use to help, promote their agenda over the other. And it's just kind of like, dude, in the end, do we actually care about doing what's best for the community, or do we just care that Team Reds or Team Blue wins? And I'd rather work on the community stuff.
Agree. If you're just joining us, you can check out his website, electhunterkane.com, not to be confused with Herman Cain.
Not to be confused.
That's for sure. Electhunterkane.com. He's running for county commissioner here, District C. Served this country honorably. He's fostered over 36 kids. He's a father to 11 of those. It's just incredible the way he's lived his life. From a local and a national front, I want to ask you this question. It seems like they're only promoting one of the 13 Democrats on the ballot in the Nevada primary. And when we talk about the primary and we talk about Mike McDonald on a national front, the shenanigans that took place when it came to Nikki Haley and the primary and then the caucus for Donald Trump. What do you make of that whole situation?
On the Republican side, I'll be honest, I still don't understand it. So I'll let them live in their madness. I think on the Democratic side, I was disappointed. So, I am a part of the executive board in the Nevada Democratic State Party. I'm the at-large member for Clark County. And I remember talking, with one of our board members saying, I thought we're the party of options and choices. Why is it that the Nevada Democratic Party is only promoting Joe Biden? It wasn't until I saw that we had 13 other people running. I've heard Marianne Williamson before. Jason Palmer is another great person that I actually had a chance to meet. And I'm like, oh, you're running? You're a candidate? Cool. I didn't know that. Is Joe Biden going to win our nomination? Absolutely, yes. Do we need to take this opportunity to solely support him? I don't think so. I think since we know he's going to win our nomination, I would love to have them raise other voices. So we can say, oh, there's all these other people doing these other things in our community. So while you're not going to be president, maybe you can help us out and run this board over here, or maybe you can run more locally over here, so we can put some attention some other places that we know you're not going to win. But
I agree. I think more ideas need to be shared, whether somebody has a chance to win or not.
Yeah.
I do agree with you. It's good to hear other ideas. I want to see more people on a debate stage, and I know Joe Biden's not coming here to debate any of the Democrats here. I get that, but at the same time, I hear you and I agree with you. It's good to hear. And Williamson, by the way, I've interviewed her. She's a very nice lady, and she has
really nice,
very intelligent. She has some really good ideas. She's moderate. And I think there are some Republicans out there that agree with her on a number of different issues. She's a very nice lady. So I certainly agree with you on that front.
If you don't mind, when it comes to Marianne Williamson, one of the things I loved about her was after, so I was involved in the UNLV shooting. And after that happened and we were kind of safe, she actually called and checked in to make sure, hey, I heard you were there with your son. Are you okay? And I'm just like, first and foremost, how do you know who I am?
How cool. That's really nice of her.
But it's really, really cool to have her do that.
That's really nice of her. It shows that she cares. And yes, I forgot that point, talking about the Kansas City Chiefs and the shooting. You were on the UNLV campus when that all went down.
We were in the student center, student union, when that was happening, going on. Like, quite literally,
That is unreal.
I was standing by the door, myself, another military vet, and another friend who just like, if somebody comes in, we're the ones who are going to be at it first.
What do you say we take a couple calls? And you
Absolutely.
okay with that? Why don't we open up the phone lines and take a couple calls? If you're just joining us, he's Hunter Cain. He served this country honorably, and senior staff writer with the United States House of Representatives, which is kind of cool. And his website is electhunterkane.com. 702-221-7283 is the number to call again if you want to be a part of the conversation. 702-221-7283. Of course, we're monitoring the breaking news and the tragic story of yet another shooting, this time at the Kansas City Chiefs celebration. All right, let's go to Kava. Kava is first up on Pushing the Limits. Hi, Kava. Thank you for calling in. You're on with Hunter Kane.
Hi, I'm calling. I live in Kansas, and with all this going on, I blame Mike Parson. This dude is a Republican. He's the governor of Missouri. He is doing nothing. He knows about today's event here in Kansas, and this guy is lazy. He's doing nothing. He's refusing gun reform. And it's like, at this point, they clearly don't care about helping change anything. They just enjoy letting things just happen. We need to get rid of Mike Parson. He's the one who's the governor of Missouri. This clown does zilch nada. And I'm just as outraged as all the rest of you. We need to either get rid of guns altogether in Missouri and Kansas permanently, or Congress needs to do something absolutely now instead of waiting till something worse happens.
Hunter, what is your response to that? I agree with what he's saying.
What I would turn around and say is yes. I think this is becoming an issue because it's a great way to rally your base. So if the Republicans want to be able to sit there and focus on a certain issue, whether it be the border, gun control, abortion, all these different things, what you do is you create one side and just, kind of ram it down, people's throats, unfortunately. What I would say that we need to do, regardless of what people think, feel, and believe, there's a great ballot measure here in Nevada. It's called Question 3. What it's going to do is it's going to get rid of both primary elections, and it's going to do ranked choice voting. So one of the great things I like about it, why I'm personally supporting it, is that it's going to be a great way to get those people out of office. I think that once, people see, okay, well, I get to choose between 1 of 4 people and not just these one handpicked people that the Republican parties are putting up, it kind of allows us to get the extremists out of the way and allow us to work here more locally.
Boy, wouldn't that be nice to get all the extremists out of the way when it comes to everything that's going on in this country?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Kava, Kava, go ahead. We'll give you the last word there. Go ahead.
So I agree, but at the same time, if this governor is not going to do anything, if these Republican governors are not going to solve it with gun reform bills, then they need to be removed immediately. I don't care how the Republicans feel. This is on them. This is their fault. They either pass a gun reform or they live with the blood in their hands.
You're right.
On them.
There has to be accountability.
I don't care if it hurts their feelings.
You're right. I agree with you. And there has to be accountability. And the best thing that we can do is vote them out of office if we're allowed to vote in that district. Kava, I appreciate your phone call, and I'm with you 100%, my friend. Thank you for the call.
Can I ask you a crazy idea?
Sure.
What about, trying to propose different bills where the elected officials, much like, I'm trying to remember the mother's name that was just found guilty for her sons.
Yes, I remember that case.
So, I like that the parent was kind of held responsible. And I'm wondering if we should start doing similar things with our lawmakers.
100%.
So,
100%.
yeah, okay.
That's not, to me, I'm with you. I know what you're saying. If a lawmaker is complicit, and it's a very slippery slope, but if a lawmaker is complicit, and, for example, Ron DeSantis passes a bill allowing felons to legally purchase guns after 8 years being out of the penitentiary, and if that felon purchases a gun legally and goes out and kills a bunch of people, yes, I believe Ron DeSantis should be partially responsible. Do I think life in prison? No. But I'm with you. It's a very difficult, slippery slope, Hunter, and I think it's a really good question. But yes, I think our politicians need to be held to account.
I agree.
Now, let me ask you this, though. Let me go to the other side of the aisle. What took place in New York City, where a bunch of undocumented immigrants seeking asylum attacked police officers violently? You saw the video.
Yeah.
And they're out the next day. And now we have one of these teenagers who commits another crime. Should those in New York City, the Democrats that refuse to lock these people up or deport them, should they be held accountable as well? Because I say yes.
I say yes to that also. And I think, I don't think it's a jail time thing. I think it's an ineligibility thing.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to do your job correctly, you're ineligible to run for any other elected, position at certain levels and things like that.
See, and your answer is fair. And we need more politicians in office that are fair. It doesn't matter whether you're a Republican or a Democrat.
Not at all.
We need to hold people accountable. People, not Republicans, not Democrats, both. And I think that's the key here, getting where we want to. All right, we should go back to the phone calls. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Again, 702-221-7283. We're covering the breaking news, of course, Kansas City shooting at the parade for the Super Bowl champs. Let's go to Susan. Susan is next up on Pushing the Limits. Hi, Susan. You're on with Hunter Kane.
Hi.
How are you?
How you doing, Brian?
Good.
Good. I wanted to talk a little bit about the gun control thing.
Sure.
There's in my state, I don't know whether they passed it or not, but they put forward a law that said that mentally ill people can no longer purchase weapons, and I don't agree with that 100%. I myself am a mentally ill person, but I have never harmed anyone in my life and have no intention to harm anyone in my life. So I think that it should be a case-by-case basis, and that people should be examined, and found to be competent to hold a gun. And I think that they should have to do training, and I do agree that they should be 21 or older.
Hunter, what do you think about that?
So this issue hits a little bit close to home. I of course, am a foster parent, and I've raised 36 young men, and most of them have pretty heavy and multiple mental health diagnoses. And then I've had a son who quite literally bought a gun, took it to the university campus, kept it in his car, didn't do anything with it. But there's multiple felonies that happened just from that, and he was just 18, was able to buy the gun. He thought it was cool, so he did. It was a cool factor. One of the things that I would love to see, and it's not within the realm of the commission, but I would absolutely love to push our lawmakers, is a mental health registry. I think it would be really great to have any psychiatrist be able to put somebody on the registry, and then any psychiatrist being able to take someone off this list. And I think it'd be a really fair way, because it kind of takes the lawmakers out. We say we have the registry for you, and then we're letting the mental health professionals be the ones who be the judge after that.
I love that idea, but there's also...
That's a great idea.
I've never heard that before. I love that. And I like the fact that, listen, if you're a psychiatrist and you take someone off the registry...
You're responsible.
You're responsible. If they go out there and commit a very serious act, then, you got blood on your hands as well. I love that idea, and I think it really, from a professional perspective, addresses the mental health issue. And obviously, if you're on that registry, you should not legally be allowed to purchase a firearm.
Absolutely.
I've never heard that before. I love that idea. I really do.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I really do, Susan. I just, we look at these images today. We've seen them too many times. Of another shooting and innocent people that have lost their lives, and it's horrible.
Well, think about it also. It's another great tool for, all different agencies to be able to utilize. So think about even a lot of these school shootings that have happened. The parents in the schools have said, hey, there's red flags everywhere, but nobody can do anything about it. So having something like this, it allows people to look a little bit more closer. And then again, you're holding those people responsible that, hey, you took him off this list and said that he was good to go, and then he did this mass shooting. So you're the one that we're coming after.
Gosh, I like that. Hunter, you should run for office. Oh, wait a second. He is. I love that idea. And, people that I vote for, I like their ideas. Some of them are innovative ideas I've never heard of before. So check out, I would ask you, Susan, and anybody listening right now, check out his website, electhunterkane.com, where you could help donate. I love ideas and genuine ideas I've never heard that before. And when people talk about, well, we need to address the mental health issue, have you ever heard a Republican say what Hunter just said? And he's a Democrat, but have you ever heard a Republican say, hey, we need a registry, we need this, we need No, it's just, we need to address the issue. Okay, well, what do we do? Yeah. What does that mean? Obviously Hunter's thought about that. I've thought about it. I haven't come up with something like that. And I think that's a really good idea that would address the problem. No question. Susan, you got anything else for us?
Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about getting involved with political campaigns and such.
Sure.
I would say that the old guard needs to let in some new blood, because I tried for years to get into the Democratic Party here where I live, and they rejected me because I wasn't part of the clique. And it was so frustrating that finally I just gave up.
Well, don't do that. Here's some advice that I'll give you. Go to Hunter's website. I'm sure he could use the help. electhunterkane.com. And I don't want to speak for you, Hunter, but I'm sure you would love this lovely lady to help you out and
Absolutely.
be involved.
And we actually have a lot of things. So even if you're not here in the great state of Nevada, we have plenty of different things, from letter writing campaigns and calling campaigns and all these different things that you can help out with. And on top of that, we may have some contacts, in the state that you're in. And one of the things I would love to do
I'm in
is
Washington.
Washington State, we absolutely have some
Yeah.
contacts over there. So if you, on all the social medias and or electhunterkane.com, just search up Elect Hunter Kane, Facebook, Twitter, TikToks even, Instagram, all of that. Find us, add us, remind me here saying, hey, I'm the one from Washington. How can I help you? And then how can I get in there? I agree with you, though. It's one of the issues that we actually have here, too. The old guard they don't want to get out of the way. And it seems like, I'm a millennial, and, the average age of the people, both in our U.S. Congress and even our Nevada legislature, here is the retirement age. And then it's just like there's a lot of other great people who have other great ideas, but because haven't been doing the Democratic Party for the last 50 years, and because they haven't raised, $200,000, every year for the Democratic Party, it seems like they're not interested in you.
Yeah.
But we're doing something about it. So come join our
There
campaign.
you go, Susan. I hope you'll take that opportunity and do that, okay?
I will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to hear from you, Susan. Thank you. Again, if you're just joining us, he is Hunter Kane. He's running for County Commission in District C here in the great state of Nevada. Serve this country honorably. And we're talking about a number of different issues today, whether it be promoting only one Democrat on the ballot for the Nevada primary, of course, that being Joe Biden, of course.
Yes.
We're talking about that. And we didn't even really get into Ronald McDonald, as I like to call him. We didn't even get into that whole nonsense. But, boy, we are so divided right now as a country, and politically, racially.
Yeah.
What would you attribute that to? Why? Why are we so divided right now?
It's going to sound really bad with me running for politics to blame it on the politicians. It sells papers, as the old adage goes. But in this, day and age, it's about how do you get your side to win. If I can tell you that this divisive issue is the reason for all of your faults that you're having in your life, and if all we had to do was, if those people weren't around or whatever that other side is, and, it grew a lot more with Donald Trump, where it's just kind of like, blame the Mexicans, blame the Africans, blame the this, blame the that. And then it comes from, a lot of people are just like, yeah, they are the ones having the issue. When I talk to some Republican friends of mine, it's kind of funny because I've asked them, you did not care about trans issues, and trans people were around for as long as I can remember. Why are you so passionate one way or the other right now? And it's because they found a new wedge issue that they can exploit to try to get you to hate that other side, so you give us more money and vote for our people. Oh my God, the bathroom bill. They're trying to let they're not trying to do that. Leave it alone. It's the same thing. You pick literally any issue.
That is
environment.
so true.
We should all be able to agree that the earth is warming. But we have to make this a wedge issue, and I just kind of blame it on the politics.
So true what you're saying. It's almost like, there are people like the Candace Owens that say, well, how come there's so many trans people now? I mean, can you really be that ignorant? It's not that there are more people who are gay or more people that are trans. It's that there are more people that are at least a little bit more maybe comfortable of being who they are. It's so absurd. I want to give you the opportunity, Hunter, before we go here. Give out the information yourself. How do people get involved in your campaign? How do people learn a little bit more about you? And how do they get involved?
So the easiest way is, again, go to electhunterkane.com. That's spelled C-A-I-N, the last name. Or look me up on all the social medias, Elect Hunter Kane. And you know what? I'm even actually going to give out my phone number. That
All
might
right.
be crazy. But feel free to send me. I probably won't answer if I'm doing something like this, but I'll probably text you back pretty easy. It's going to be area code 725. The number's 212-0560.
I love that.
So, literally reach out to me. Let's talk about issues you have. If you thought some of my ideas were wrong, talk to me about it. Don't yell at me about it and, use words. But, hey, here's a better idea. Hey, here's something they would love to see. I'm open to every conversation.
What's more hands-on than that, giving out your personal phone number?
Personal phone number. It's right here.
And, of course, you can go on your website, electhunterkane.com as well. I'm going to give out that number again because there's a lot of people watching and listening. If you want to contact Hunter, 725-212-0560. Hunter Kane, it's always a pleasure having you in studio. We'll have you in again soon. and hopefully under better circumstances. Tragic day, of course, where we're hearing about this shooting at the Kansas City Chiefs parade. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming in, and we'll talk to you soon, my friend. Thank you so
very
much.
Thanks.
All right, everybody, that's a wrap. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. For those of you that are watching on the Occupy Democrats website, click that subscribe button. It's only $5, and you get involved and get personal contact with me, even though I'm not giving my personal phone number out. You can still message me on there. Also, find my socials at PTL Radio Show on YouTube, on TikTok, Twitch, X, whatever it's called now. And we appreciate all of you joining us and all the phone calls. And we will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a great day, everybody.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That